People on the internet are always talking about investing into the S&P 500 index fund or dividend investing to earn passive income. I'm sure you guys are wondering the same thing I was thinking. Which is better and which should you choose? Perhaps this is your first paycheck and you are sick and tired of work already, so you realize that in order to retire early, you need to start investing early as well. Several years ago, I invested $50,000 into both the S&P 500 and Singapore dividend stocks to test them out. So in this video, we're going to review exactly how much money I earned from each of them, and you can decide for yourself which one you prefer and which one to invest your hard-earned money into. So let's first talk about the dividend investing portfolio. I first started investing into the Singapore stock market 2 years ago in order to build passive income. So the rules of this portfolio was simple. Rule number 1 was that I would buy only stocks that gave dividends every single year, and the minimum yield that I would accept would be 5% per year. Rule number 2, I would assume no capital appreciation from this portfolio at all, so just focus on dollar cost averaging and buying them every single month with my salary in that sense. The first 2 stocks that I ended up buying was actually in the real estate sector. They are called REITs, and that stands for Real Estate Investment Trusts. They basically pull together money from investors, they buy into properties, they rent them out, collect that rent, and then distribute it back to the investors as dividends every single year through a biannually kind of dividend most of the time. So it's a very simple concept. I was basically being a landlord without having to go through all the hassles of dealing with tenants and broken toilets, which sounds like a pretty good deal for me. So the 2 REITs that I invested in are the Capital Landmore REITs and Ascenders REITs. I've invested around $19,000 into each of them, basically buying around $1,000 to $2,000 every single month whenever I had spare cash. So the latest stock that I just bought a few weeks ago was actually the DBS Bank stock, and I bought $3,800 worth of it. Actually, now that I think about it, right after I bought that stock, it's now tanked to somewhere around $35, $36. So perhaps I should have waited a little bit longer. But remember, rule number 2, don't care about the capital appreciation, just buy at any price. Make sure I'm dollar cost averaging every single month to make sure that I get a proper buy-in price. So this made me a little bit nervous because it was kind of at an all-time high and I kind of knew that the price would drop, but obviously it is what it is. Hindsight is always 20/20. So I mainly invest into the Singapore stock market with the moomoo Singapore app. So shameless plug here, the referral link is down below if you guys want to get started with your investing journey as well in the Singapore stock market. This brings the total portfolio size to around $43,000 after some appreciation that's happened in the last 2 years or so. They all have a 5% dividend yield as well. So Ascenders REITs has paid out very nicely $822.80 in dividends, while Capital Landmore REITs have paid out $878.15. So this brings it to a grand total of $1,795 in the last 2 years. It isn't a crazy amount of money, but it's nice to have passive income like this and finally have my money working for me while I'm asleep. So this is just really money that I'm investing into the stock market, and then they pay me back the dividends. Granted, the dividends are not exactly guaranteed, just like what happens when during a recession. I think a lot of the companies had lower dividends or they stopped giving dividends in that sense, but if assuming everything is pretty okay, on a general average they give 5% dividend yield, which is pretty nice for me. I know that, when you guys first get started and you're, investing your hard-earned paycheck, but money really takes time to compound, and you're not going to earn a lot of money when you first start investing. A bit like this, I have almost a $40,000 portfolio, but it only netted me around $1,700 in 2 years, which means around $800+ per year. To be fair as well, I didn't start it off with $40,000. It took time to accumulate, which is why as you have more money invested in the portfolio, you're going to get a lot more money a lot faster than in the initial years of investing. So you better start investing at an early age and really let that money compound over time in that sense. But basically you can see that this is a realistic look into how much you can earn if you invest consistently into a dividend portfolio in Singapore as well. Next, let's talk about the S&P 500 index fund. So this is the most commonly talked about index fund and investing instrument that all finance YouTubers love. It's easy. Assuming you are 25 years old right now, let's do a little bit of calculations and you invest just $500 a month. Most of you probably can invest a bit more, but considering that you just started your first job or whatever it is, your salary is a little bit on the lower end, you can just invest somewhere a couple $100, maybe up to $500, which is pretty nice. But you let it compound at a 7 to 10% annual growth. That's historically what's being shown. Let's take the average of about 8.5%. You will have over $1.2 million 35 years later when you're ready to chill out at the ripe age of 60 years old. This means that as long as you continuously invest $500 every single month from today onwards, you will be a millionaire without even doing anything extra, and this is assuming that the growth is a little bit on the average side. If it's on the higher side, even better. A lower side, maybe even worse. But on average, you're going to be a millionaire just by doing absolutely nothing, which is pretty nice, you know. This was what made the S&P 500 very appealing for me. So I decided to start investing some money into the S&P 500 as well. I started investing about 1,000 plus every single month, and I did it for almost an entire year. So in total, I've invested $14.8 thousand since 2019, and it was primarily through this website called DollarDex. So it wasn't so easy to invest into the US stock market back then in 2019, 2020. Back then, like moomoo wasn't here, Webull, all these things weren't here. You only have like TD Ameritrade and all the other US kind of brokers, but DollarDex was something that I was investing through it. I might choose to sort of change it to IBKR. CSPX seems to be a good index fund that people are also trying out, which I might be trying out in the future as well. Let me know down in the comments below if you guys want to see some more content about that. But basically, the growth has been insane since this portfolio is now sitting at a whopping $22,000 and a profit of almost 50%. So considering that it's been an account for almost 5 years, it has earned an average of 10% a year, which is pretty accurate according to the YouTube guru. So no need to doubt them in the last 5 years or so. 5 years is a relatively short amount of time. You probably need a lot more time in order to get proper data over a long period of time. But I think over a 20-30 year period, S&P 500 has been pretty reliable to get a good 10% every single year. This puts the profits to around $7,323, which is almost $6,000 more than my dividends portfolio. Of course, this is also an unfair comparison because I've held onto this portfolio longer. If you kind of think about it, 2 years or so, you can kind of divide by 2, it will still be around 3,000 plus, which is still a pretty nice number, probably about double of what my dividend portfolio can give me in that sense. But this is an excellent investing style. If you feel that you can continue working in your industry and you can continue working for an extended period of time of 20 to 30 more years, then you can consider this investment as well. So then comes the interesting question, which is the best investment? Objectively, if you just look at the monetary returns, of course you would say the S&P 500 index fund because it will get you 7 to 10% annually and the dividend portfolio is only 5% per year. You can also see that the monetary difference is also quite big at around $5,000 to $6,000 between the two portfolios, considering the amount of time that I took as well. However, the best investment should not be just solely on your monetary returns. You also want to look at the pros and cons of both the investment types and what kind of life you want to have. So the S&P 500 is a great investment for the long term, but it means that you have to consistently invest into the market and basically not touch that money for the next 30 years or so. This means that a lack of flexibility and the need to have consistent income to continuously invest into the index fund. It basically means you have to continue working for the next 20 to 30 years of your life, and if you stop midway, it's not that anything bad will happen if you stop midway. You just have a little bit less money in the overall portfolio, but if you stop midway, you may not be a millionaire in after 20 to 30 years in that sense. A lot of people are into this, especially in the FIRE community, which is the financially independent, retire early. Yes, they are basically a group that consistently invests into the S&P 500, and then when it reaches a very big amount, they can retire early, and then they just withdraw money from the portfolio every single month. Considering that the principal is so big already, the interest that they are earning will always be there for them to withdraw, and they will never touch the principal amount, so they'll keep growing every single year. But if there's an economic recession and all your 4% or whatever it is that you're withdrawing is going to be a lot lesser, your portfolio is going to be a lot lesser, so it's going to be difficult to get monthly income with that portfolio size. That's what I think as well. So it may not be a very exciting option if you guys are sick of your job and you want to quit your job after taking your first paycheck already. The dividends portfolio for me is a bit more interesting because it gives me flexibility and freedom. So it's basically a portfolio that I wanted to develop further for my retirement as well, because it gives yearly and monthly income in that sense. So the income I can decide on whether I want to use it for my daily needs or to reinvest into the portfolio to continue growing it. This means that at the age of, let's say, around 40, if I'm sick and tired of my job, I don't want to do anything anymore, I just want to quit my job and become a YouTuber, that's pretty nice as well, because then I can do whatever I want to do because I have a steady stream of dividends that's coming in to pay for my daily needs as well. So you really need to ask yourself, what is it that you want and what is it that you value? Because for me, it's okay to sacrifice a few percent of returns in exchange for the freedom and flexibility to do whatever that I want that a monthly income can provide. A good balance is, of course, to have both portfolios where you have a little bit of money into S&P 500 and a little bit of money into a dividend portfolio to have steady income as well. You basically need to know your long-term goal and what you're aiming for in order to choose the right investing portfolio that suits your needs best. It really doesn't matter who is earning more money. Stop comparing yourself with others, because even though other people may have more money or less money, what they want is definitely not what you want. So you have to decide for yourself what investing portfolio suits your needs best. But then comes the golden question, what am I going to do now? I'm actually thinking about going all in on my dividend portfolio and maximizing it as much as I can so I can build it up to $100,000 portfolio, which is going to be my next exciting goal. Hopefully Hopefully this transparency into both my investing portfolios help you guys to make a better and more informed decision in investing in that sense. If you enjoyed this video here, then you'll probably enjoy this video here on how much money I made living in Singapore. Thanks for watching, have an amazing week ahead, and as usual, I'll see you guys in the next few videos. Bye bye.